Last weekend, when I was at Connecticut Horror Fest, I went with some friends and saw The Substance. Unfortunately, before I could come home and make a video on it, I came down with COVID and have had a not so fun week. But I'm on the mend, and I'm finally ready to get on camera and talk about a question that I can't help shake. Would The Substance be a healthy, viable methodology, or would it always be doomed to the film's outcome? Now, before I go any further, if you haven't seen The Substance, what the hell are you doing? Go watch it right now. Seriously, turn this off and any other video. It's best to go in as blind as possible and watch it ASAP. I consider it not just the best horror film of the year, but the best film of the year so far, flat out. So anyway, yeah, spoiler alert. It's not too uncommon for films to employ the device of granting the main character a too good to be true wish with a set of rules attached. And it's always interesting to me to examine whether or not those rules are inherently stacked against the character from the get-go, or further, if they would be stacked against every single person that would ever accept the seemingly generous gift. Could I, if given the cutest little mogwai as a pet, keep it happy and healthy with no repercussions? What do you think? In this case, Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore, is faced with the gift of being given a second chance in an industry that rarely gives first chances by going through extraordinary measures to catch a glimmer of youth for 7 out of every 14 days. I just need a moment to fawn over Demi Moore for a moment, who delivers a career-defining performance as Sparkle, and for such a storied career, that's really saying something. She brought so much to this film, and it's rare to see a performance so entirely naked in every sense possible. The raw emotional vulnerability she faced, as well as the physical challenges of the role, were simply flabbergasting, and to see them all brought to screen with such a deft hand, I was frankly awestruck. Anyway, back to the question at hand. Is The Substance, if entertained in the hypothetical that it was real and anyone was given the option with the rules attached, is it viable? I have doubts, and the reason for my doubts are perfectly on display by Elizabeth Sparkle herself. Where do we place our worth? What is it within ourselves that we focus our value? By all accounts, Elizabeth Sparkle is living the dream. Epic career, fame, huge condo with an incredible view, wealth, health, beauty, etc. Yes, her fame was diminishing and her career was winding down, but some could see that as a positive thing, a bit more public anonymity, a bit more time to focus on other elements in life. The basic overall outcome is Elizabeth Sparkle was living the life that most people living today would give anything for. So why wasn't it enough for her? It's all shown in exactly where she placed her worth. The corridor of posters, the impact of her show being shut down, the decor of her house, the people she surrounds herself with, the entirety of Elizabeth Sparkle's worth in Elizabeth Sparkle's eyes is her career. Specifically, her career at its height. She displays no photos of family. She does not engage in any hobby. She doesn't have a healthy circle of friends. She doesn't volunteer. She doesn't travel. She seemingly doesn't read, doesn't write, or generally fill her life with any enriching elements of exploration or curiosity. It's never determined if Elizabeth Sparkle is a stage name, but assuming it is, it's clear that the former self this individual once inhabited has completely succumbed to Sparkle. All there is for her is her career. A career that has been fading and is close to being extinguished entirely. Considering her investment of self-worth is all in on this fading career, so too is her value in jeopardy. From the outside looking in, it all seems so ridiculous on its face. I just wanted to shout at the screen, you have worth, you have value, you're so incredibly beautiful, and there's so much light still inside of you. But sometimes what others see in us is difficult to see when we look at ourselves. To many of us, the situation Elizabeth finds herself in with her show being canceled could have been seen as the epic opportunity it was. A chance to close one chapter and start a new one, fresh with desire, resources, and hope. It's human nature to be blind to roads that lie ahead when we insist on staring backwards. Taking that magnifying glass I'm shining on this character and turning it on myself, I've been reflecting on where I place my value. So much of my life is devoted to screens, for good or ill. My channels, my career outside of YouTube, my volunteering in the community. It's all pretty computer and screen-based. It's what I've spent my life devoted to, personally and professionally. I'm also 44 years old, and every time I go to the eye doctor, my prescription increases in strength a little bit. I'm wearing bifocals for the first time in my life now. I also have type 2 diabetes, thankfully very well managed now, but I still have to be careful about optic neuropathy. I faced down the question over the last 4 years or so, what happens to me if I lose my sight? After all, so much of my self-worth is tied up in my ability to use a computer efficiently, watch movies, and generally interact with visual stimuli. This is where it's important to engage in a healthy amount of introspection and honest self-evaluation. In doing so, it leads me to realize my worth isn't tied to my eyes. Professions and career paths change. I love the career I have now because it enables me to use my knowledge base to help others. If things change, I still have that knowledge base, and I can still find ways to help people. I love to read, I love to write, I love to enjoy movies, and I can still find ways to engage with each and every one of those. I can still volunteer in my community in different ways. I just need to lean on others to find the right path to do so. Most importantly, I would still have the people I love and the people that still love me. My value and my worth continues because I'm careful where I plant it in the first place. When Elizabeth was given the gift of the substance, it's easy to say she would have been just fine if she had adhered to the rules. But would she have? Sue would have eventually aged, and what then? Make another Sue? To what end? Ultimately, the substance isn't a magic syringe full of happiness, it's just opportunity. When Elizabeth was gifted that opportunity, she just used it to repeat the same steps she's always known. She's just wanted to recapture her perceived value in the only avenue she considered open to her. I'm going to pause a moment because I'm feeling a bit like I'm putting all the blame on Elizabeth here. Ultimately, we are all individually responsible for our individual actions and choices, but let's not pretend there weren't external forces providing that echo chamber of validation and isolation. The history of the entertainment industry is bathed in the blood of the aging actress, relegating so many talented women to the generic mom or grandma roles, or just forgetting they exist entirely as soon as the first sign of crow's feet appear. Men are given complex roles as aging heroes and villains, but women are historically cast aside when age creeps up. This has led to extremely unhealthy outcomes that has cost livelihoods and even lives themselves. Fortunately, it's getting better. There's still a long way to go, but the industry is coming around to seeing value in aging actresses outside of typecast filler roles. For this reason, I think that Elizabeth Sparkle could have taken a lesson from Demi Moore. What if, instead of taking the substance, Elizabeth had kicked down doors, fought for roles, and found an opportunity and performance within herself as Demi had? Strength is found within, but strength within the community is found in advocacy. The industry is changing, but that's in large part due to the women that have fought against the norms and advocated for their sisters to find roles in the industry in front of and behind the camera. Demi Moore just joined those beloved ranks and kicked down one hell of a door, hopefully making the next fight for the next actress facing the absolute sin of turning 35 a little bit easier. So when the USB stick for the substance falls into your hands, which, by the way, don't ever plug a USB drive some stranger gave you into any device in your home, one must consider what it is actually offering that you can't provide to yourself just by taking an honest look at where you place your value. Could someone undergo the substance transformation and adhere to the rules, living a healthy and happy life during both sets of 7-day intervals? Sure, in theory, but human nature often gets in the way of the best theory. And the side of human nature that would accept the gift of the substance has likely already shown they aren't ready to perform that balancing act. If they had, then the allure of what it offered would hold no sway. They would have already evaluated their self-worth and found ways to continue enriching the lives of themselves and others in ways that adapt to their life circumstances without the need of a magical solution. Without the character qualities present that would make the need for the substance moot, it would likely spell the doom of any individual that went down this rabbit hole. Perhaps not in so spectacular a way as Elizabeth Sparkle, but I believe the answer to the question, is the substance viable, when meeting with human nature and the circumstances that would lead someone to accepting it in the first place, I don't believe it is. But what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic as well as on this movie in general. Please leave your comments below, and if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. A quick shout out here to my Patreon supporters who encourage and help me to keep going. And with that, I'll wish you a very happy and healthy week ahead. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.